Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Stephen Nathanson, CEO and founder of Strive for More. And today we're going to essentially close out this 3 episode arc on personal development. Last time we talked about how do we stop losing employees from a lack of growth and development opportunities. And we outlined a very kind of simple two-pronged approach of focusing on what we provide organizationally. And then what do our managers do as well? And then really treating our employees as customers. And we ask those questions of what do our employees really want? We made a note that we tend to guess instead of asking that question. So we often end up missing the mark and then knowing how we're going to deliver it because we know what actually works best to fulfill what our employees want, they're looking for, the conversations they want to have with their managers. So this is what we're going to really dig into today. And we're going to get into some more nuts and bolts versus some high level that we had last time. So as I said, it really comes down to treating our employees as internal customers, knowing them intimately to be able to successfully meet what they're looking for. And this is what the most successful companies who do this have done. They have higher employee engagement because they've asked these questions. They've administered engagement surveys, other tools that give them the feedback and directly learn from their employees so that they can put that best foot forward for what those employees are actually looking for. And then tailor specific offerings that actually meet those needs in terms of growth and development. And it's not just about saying training or education or coaching. Here's some of the other things that typically come into play. We actually have to know that there's career advancement opportunities. What does that look like? Do we have a career ladder and progression? Do we know the pay bands that are associated with it? You'd be surprised actually how many companies don't have that progression, that map, that track. I've been hired as an engineer, but I have no idea where I go from here. It's not clear. Is there progression? Do we know what those steps are for us to continue, grow, and advance? And that there are opportunities? And how does that happen? So that's one of the very first things. So let's just stick with the engineering example. You may come in and you may get hired, say, as a junior engineer. Then you may be able to get promoted to a senior engineer. Then perhaps to a principal engineer. And then maybe there's a team lead position. And then after that, perhaps the next step is going to be getting to a management position. Unless you want to say, remain in that individual contributor track. So that's just an example. But it highlights the fact that coming into this organization, I know what my promotions can be. I know what that progression looks like. I know that aligns with the individual contributor track and the managerial track. Know how they align, excuse me. And I'll even know what the pay bands are for each of those as well. That's important because money, right, wrong, or indifferent, is a big part of people's decision. That constraint is not going away for all of us to earn a living. Regardless of what that looks like for us, that constraint is there. We have to earn money to be able to live in the way that our society currently operates. So it is a big part for employees to know that not only with advancing their career that they'll be able to advance their pay and their ability to have financial stability. So that's actually one thing we didn't talk about last time, because now we're getting in the nuts and bolts. It's not just about the training, the education, the coaching. It's also seeing the actual clear-cut path forward for them and having that documentation as a human resource group to be able to provide it to our employees. We often can revise that as well, because once we know that maybe we are underpaid, perhaps industry norms have grown up and we need to advance and modify those pay bands, that's also very important because employees are going to look externally. They are going to say, jump ship to get more money, because it's much easier to get more money by going somewhere else and onboarding with them than it is to get an internal pay increase, because companies internally don't like to give more than, say, like a 10% raise. It's very difficult to do that internally, actually. So part of this other growth and development is ensuring that we are within industry trends. And if we are, say, below industry trends, what is it that we do that others don't, that make up for it and actually outweigh the monetary difference? That's something that can come into play in terms of growth and development opportunities that others perhaps do not provide organizationally, that you can provide as an advantage to continue to get those opportunities to folks. So what does that typically look like? A lot of time it's going to conferences, it's training, it's education, it's skill development. Do you have those offers? Do you pay for master classes? Do you pay for coaching? What is it that you do? And what is it that your employees actually want? Again, let's just stick to the tech as an example. Python perhaps is a skill set that somebody would love to have, but doesn't get. And in order to advance their career, they need to learn how to code in Python. Do you provide, say, reimbursement for that? Do you provide internal classes on that? Are we meeting the specific needs of what our folks want? And that may look different for different business units, different types of individuals that we have in our organization. So do we understand that fully enough to be able to provide those training materials, those classes, the reimbursement for them? One key thing to know is training and education has its purpose. We can foundationally give coursework for very skill-oriented things such as Python. Is it a class? Is it a university course? Because there's a great question there. We like to do this patchwork fix, these Band-Aid fixes, as I call them, in this country. And the reason is it's simple. We'll bring something in, it's maybe less expensive, but when we talk about training and education, educational conferences, seminars, workshops, only a handful of things that people can really take away, especially if it's very talk oriented. So if they can only take a couple things away from that talk, how long does that last? Typically, one and done training sees a spike right after it, and then it falls off because we can only walk away with so much. And if it's causing a change in behavior to do something differently, unless we set ourselves up to successfully ingrain that new behavior, it is going to fall off. The reason why I mention that is when we offer growth and development opportunities, our employers are going to look at what we offer and evaluate. Is it something that works for them? Oh, this is a great seminar. This was great. But you know what? I mean, it worked well for a while, but it didn't really solve what I was looking for. It didn't give me what I wanted. Coaching, on the other hand, overcomes that hurdle. Professional coaching works one-on-one with individuals to help them ingrain what's truly right for them over time. And it's just a one and done, and it's just not a one and done thing, because those conventional, those continual conversations, say over 6 months, you're going to help that individual figure out how to best apply what they've taken away and then build that new neural pathway in their brains so that they can actually sustain that as a new behavior. So as an organization, are we actually giving what employees want, what they're actually looking for? And then are we delivering it in a way that's truly going to ingrain that growth within them that's sustainable? That's not just a spike and then a plateau. Coaching is different because it's not one and done. It helps truly ingrain new behaviors in people that are sustainable. So this is a really big thing for us to consider as an organization. Are we just doing a bunch of Band-Aid and patchwork fixes that just spike and then tail off? Or are we actually providing something that truly helps build new behaviors, give people what they're looking for, grow those sustainable skills that then set them up for their advancement? It's a really, really good question to ask. Beyond this, we mentioned conversations with managers. What are we doing to train our managers to have career development opportunities? Is it just a check the box? Okay, we had it. We had it at the end of the year. We define our goals, we put in the system, and then we're done. How do we help our managers learn how to focus? Very similar to what we just talked about. We can do skills and training or videos on it, but does that truly get to the heart of helping your managers actually learn how to develop those conversations, how to focus on to what their employees really need from them, to utilize the kind of framework we talked about? It again gets into what are we doing that presents the information they need to know? And then how are we truly helping them learn and ingrain it and practice it? Some of the best coursework that I've ever done has not only introduced the material, they've shown how to apply it, and then they've had you do it. So this is actually the tell, show, do methodology. If I'm going to teach, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to then show you, and then have you do it. It's actually very similar to what we go through in school. Let's say in English class, we're talking about how to write a good essay. We're going to talk about the different components, say your introduction, your body, your conclusion, what goes into each of those. Then we walk you through different examples. So I'm going to show you how it applies and then have you do it. That practical experience. It's no different as we grow in our careers and we develop. The same thing is something we can do as an organization. Are we going to introduce? Are we going to explain, like the show? And then are we going to have them do it? So can I get into the name of the organization just because of different, I cannot get into the name of the organization because of different privacy and disclosure issues. But there is an organization recently who's realized that they want to shift their growth and development conversation into growth areas, into focusing on positives, not weaknesses, not needed skill development, but how do we help? How do we exactly do what we've talked about 2 episodes ago in personal development, oriented to the serving, to the positive, to help us use proper language that empowers people, that gets them engaged and excited and works on things that they truly want to do, and then guide the managers to have those kinds of conversations. Not just in introductory information and knowledge and rolling out a new way of having these conversations, but giving them the coaching opportunity to work with somebody one-on-one to practice and apply it and have as many of those conversations as they need to feel like they've really ingrained that best way for them to apply it and serve their employees. It's a great example of how do we help our employees grow. Not only do we offer trainings, the education, and the professional coaching opportunities to them and what they're specifically looking for, but we train our managers to have the conversations in a way that's actually going to resonate with them, help them, and be serving versus here are the weaknesses. Here's what you need to know to focus on. If you want to get to the next level, you need to work on your people skills. There's a lot of complaints about you that have happened. So if you really want to do that and you want to lead, here's what you have to do. That doesn't come across as well as focusing on what's going to be serving, what's going to be motivating. Because if you're just focusing on what's wrong with somebody, they're going to disengage. But if you're focusing on speaking to what's going to help them get to where they want to go, and it's shared in that light, and it's shared in a serving way, and it's shared in a legitimately helpful way that you are wanting to help them grow and develop versus, hey, you've got to work in this and fix this. It is that much more powerful. And so this in totality is how we help our employees grow. It starts with what do we do as an organization for those employees by knowing what they're looking for and providing those opportunities and those appropriate solutions. And then it also blends into what are we doing with our managers to help fuel those individual conversations in a way that is engaging and motivating. And then how do we similarly provide them with what they need to actually ingrain that new behavior? The new way of doing it and have that take hold versus just something that's one and done. Like, here's the new way, go forth with it and prosper. There's a difference. So I really hope you enjoyed today. If you have any questions on this, I'm more than happy to answer them further. Please just let me know. and I can get into greater detail with you. Please just drop me a line, send me an email, whatever's best for you. So I look forward to hearing from you. And until the next time, be the movement in your life.